"Open the door!" Amara Cole shouted, pounding against the mansion's glass entrance as rain lashed her face. "Mrs. Whitmore, please, someone is inside my room." Vivian Whitmore stood safely beneath the marble portico, holding the electronic keycard she had taken from the black maid. "You were dismissed," Vivian replied coldly. "Leave the property. The bridge is flooded. I have nowhere to go. That is no longer my concern." Lightning split the sky. The mansion's security doors sealed automatically, leaving Amara trapped outside without her coat, phone, or shoes. Then billionaire Julian Whitmore appeared at the end of the foyer. He had returned from London 6 hours earlier than expected. "Why is Amara outside?" he demanded. Vivian turned quickly. "She stole from us, so I fired her." Before Julian could respond, a baby's cry echoed from the upper floor. Everyone froze. The sound came again, weak, frightened and unmistakable. Julian looked toward the servants' corridor. "Why is there a baby in Amara's room?" Vivian's face lost all color. Before we continue, subscribe and tell us in the comments where you're watching from, because Julian believed he was about to discover that his maid had secretly brought a child into his home. He had no idea the crying baby was connected to a tragedy his wife had spent 11 years hiding, or that Amara had been locked outside because she had discovered the child only minutes earlier. Amara had worked at the Whitmore mansion for 4 months. She was 30 years old, calm under pressure and unusually skilled at recognizing mechanical sounds. Before medical expenses forced her to abandon college, she had trained as an emergency communications technician, learning how to distinguish live voices from recordings distorted by damaged equipment. Her younger brother, Leon, had recently lost mobility after an accident. Amara accepted the mansion job because its salary covered his rehabilitation. Vivian learned about that dependence quickly. "You need this position," she once told Amara. "Remember that before questioning me." Julian rarely witnessed his wife's cruelty. He managed a global shipping company and traveled constantly, while Vivian controlled the mansion's staff and a private maternity charity called First Harbor. The charity supposedly provided temporary shelter to mothers escaping dangerous homes. Yet no mother had ever visited the estate. Amara first heard the crying 3 nights earlier. It always began at exactly 2:17 a.m. and ended after 42 seconds. The other employees claimed the sound came from old plumbing. Vivian insisted it was a fox outside. But Amara knew it was neither. The cry repeated with precisely the same pauses every night. It was a recording. That afternoon, while repairing a damaged intercom near the staff quarters, Amara discovered a thin audio cable running behind the wall and into her bedroom. Someone had installed a hidden speaker above her ceiling. At 8:40 that evening, the crying started unexpectedly. This time it did not repeat the familiar pattern. The baby coughed between cries. A metal object struck the floor. Then a woman whispered, "Please wake up." It was live. Amara followed the cable into an unused linen room beside her quarters. Behind a sliding shelf, she found a narrow passage leading toward the mansion's sealed eastern wing. Before she could enter, Vivian appeared behind her. "What are you doing?" "I heard a child." "You heard nothing." "The sound came through my wall." Vivian grabbed Amara's arm and pulled her away from the opening. "You have been searching private areas of my home. There may be a baby trapped in there." Vivian's expression became terrifyingly calm. "A diamond bracelet disappeared from my dressing room this morning. Security will find it inside your belongings." Amara understood the threat immediately. "You planted something in my room. I gave you an opportunity most women like you would never receive. Walk away quietly, and perhaps the police won't become involved." Then Vivian took Amara's keycard, pushed her through the main entrance and activated the storm locks. Now Julian stood inside the mansion listening to a baby cry from the room Vivian had forbidden anyone to enter. He ordered the security manager, Everett Sloan, to unlock the servants' corridor. "The system is malfunctioning," Everett said. "Use the manual key." It was removed during renovations. Amara watched through the glass as Vivian quietly signaled Everett to remain still. Julian saw it too. He pressed the emergency release beside the door. The locks disengaged. Amara stumbled inside, soaked and shivering. Julian removed his coat and placed it around her shoulders. "Show me where you heard the child." Vivian stepped between them. "She should be searched first." Julian faced her. "A baby is crying upstairs. And she may have brought it here to manipulate you." "I've never seen that baby," Amara said. "But someone connected its room to mine." They reached the staff corridor. Everett tried to prevent them from opening Amara's door, claiming it was part of a police investigation. Julian took the keycard from him. No police were called. Everett did not answer. Inside Amara's room, drawers had been emptied across the floor. A diamond bracelet sat conspicuously on her pillow. Julian picked it up. "This bracelet is in the bank vault downtown." Vivian stared at it. "It must be a copy." "It is a copy," Julian replied. "The clasp is wrong." Amara moved beneath the ceiling speaker. The crying had stopped. She pressed her ear against the wall and heard a faint ventilator humming beyond it. "The passage is behind that shelf." Julian pulled the shelf aside. A steel door blocked the opening. Its control panel required a 6-digit code. Vivian whispered, "There is nothing behind there." Julian looked at her. "Then why are you afraid of me opening it?" Amara studied scratches beside the keypad. 6 numbers appeared more worn than the others. She remembered the crying always began at 2:17 and lasted 42 seconds. She entered 021742. The door opened. Cold air escaped from the passage. Julian turned on his phone's flashlight and entered beside Amara. At the far end, they found a nursery built without windows. A hospital bassinet stood in the center. It was empty. The crying came from a medical monitor attached to the wall. A live transmission showed a newborn inside another room somewhere beneath the mansion. A woman wearing a First Harbor uniform leaned over the child, trying to keep it conscious. Beside the monitor was a digital countdown. 58 minutes remained. Amara noticed a metal identification disc attached to the machine. One side displayed today's date. The other carried the Whitmore family crest. Julian touched it in disbelief. "That symbol was retired 11 years ago, after my infant sister died." A voice suddenly spoke through the monitor. "Julian, if you can hear me, your sister did not die." Vivian tried to run, but Amara blocked the passage. Julian turned toward his wife. "What did your father do with my sister?" Vivian's eyes filled with panic. "He saved her." The countdown dropped below 57 minutes. On the screen, the newborn stopped crying. Its heart alarm began sounding. Then the woman beside it looked directly into the camera. "Find the original nursery before time runs out," she warned. "This baby has the same condition as Julian's sister, and Vivian is about to use the child to erase what happened to both of them." The newborn's heart alarm continued screaming through the monitor. Amara leaned toward the screen. "Who are you?" she asked the woman in the First Harbor uniform. "My name is Dr. Simone Vale. I'm in the old clinic beneath the North Greenhouse. The baby has less than an hour unless you restore the medical system." Vivian disconnected. Julian looked at the countdown. "Whose child is that?" Simone hesitated. "She belongs to a woman your wife promised to protect." Vivian moved toward the steel door, but Julian blocked her. "Where is my sister?" "I don't know," Vivian replied. "You just admitted your father saved her." "My father told me she survived. He never told me where she was taken." "That's convenient." "It's the truth." Amara noticed Vivian repeatedly glancing toward the control panel beside the monitor. A red button labeled Purge was protected beneath a clear cover. Amara stepped in front of it. "What happens if you press this?" Vivian's expression confirmed the answer before she spoke. "It deletes obsolete medical data." "It cuts the transmission," Amara said. "And probably seals the clinic." Julian removed his phone and called emergency services. The storm had damaged nearby towers, but the call connected briefly. He gave the estate's location and requested medical teams before the signal failed. "Everett controls the property's emergency network," Amara warned. "If he's helping Vivian, the call may never reach anyone." Julian looked at the security manager. Everett had disappeared. A loud metallic sound echoed behind the wall. The steel door began closing. Amara pulled Julian into the passage. Vivian tried remaining outside, but Julian caught the edge of the door before it sealed. "You're coming with us." The three hurried toward the concealed nursery as the mansion's emergency lights flickered. On the monitor, Simone placed 2 fingers against the newborn's neck. "Her pulse is weakening. Tell us what she needs," Amara said. "A replacement circulation pump is stored in the original nursery. Its battery must be activated there before it can be moved." "Where is the nursery?" "Your wife knows." Vivian shook her head. That part of the mansion was demolished. Simone looked directly into the camera. "Ask her why the storm drains are connected to it." Thunder shook the estate. Water began flowing beneath the nursery door. Amara crouched and touched it. "This isn't rainwater. It's warm." A heating pipe had burst somewhere inside the walls. Julian examined the old floor plan displayed beside the monitor. The eastern wing appeared empty, but several pipes disappeared beneath a painted section. Someone had covered a room on the map. Amara remembered the mansion's laundry system. Every Monday, she heard water rushing beneath the stone floor at precisely 5:10 a.m., although no machines were operating. "The laundry drain crosses this wall," she said. "It may lead to the original nursery." They returned to the corridor. Water was already pouring from beneath the staffroom doors. The storm alone could not have caused it so quickly. Vivian had activated something. At the end of the hallway, Everett appeared holding a heavy control tablet. "The lower levels are flooding," he announced. "Everyone needs to evacuate." Julian approached him. "Show me the tablet. It only controls drainage. Then you won't mind handing it over." Everett tightened his grip. Vivian suddenly shouted, "Now!" The corridor lights went dark. Amara heard Everett running. She followed the sound of his shoes through the blackness and caught his sleeve. He twisted away, but the tablet fell into the water. Sparks flashed across its screen. For 1 second, a building diagram appeared. A pulsing blue section marked N11 was directly beneath the laundry room. Then the tablet died. Everett shoved open a service door and escaped. Julian helped Amara stand. "Are you hurt?" "No. We have the room number." Vivian backed toward the stairs. Julian seized her key card. "If anything happens to that baby, you will answer for it." "You still don't understand," she snapped. "That child should never have been brought here." "Why?" "Because her mother stole records from First Harbor." Amara faced her. "Your charity was supposed to protect mothers." "It did. But some women lied about who they were." "You mean they discovered what you were doing?" Vivian's anger broke through her polished composure. "You think caring for desperate women is simple? They arrived with no money, no families, and children no one wanted. My father created a system that gave those children better lives." "Without their mother's permission?" Amara asked. Vivian said nothing. The truth was becoming clear. First Harbor did not merely shelter vulnerable mothers. It separated some of them from their babies and altered the records, just as Vivian's father had done 11 years earlier. Julian led them into the laundry room. Large industrial machines stood on raised platforms while water rushed across the floor. Amara located a drain marked N11. It was far wider than the others and secured with 4 locking bolts. "There's a chamber beneath this," she said. Julian found a maintenance wrench, but the first bolt would not turn. Water climbed around their ankles while lightning cut power across the estate again. From somewhere below came a faint cry. This time, it was not transmitted through a speaker. The baby was directly beneath them. Julian forced the second bolt loose. Amara worked on the third. Vivian stood near the doorway, silently watching. "Help us," Julian ordered. "If you open that chamber, you will release more than one secret. My sister is already one secret too many." Vivian stared at him. "You want to know why your parents told you she died? Because they were ashamed of what she became." Julian stopped turning the wrench. "She was an infant. She grew up." The statement struck him. Vivian knew more about his sister than she had admitted. Before he could question her, The drain cover lifted from below. A hand appeared through the gap. "Move," a woman shouted. Julian and Amara pulled the cover aside. Dr. Simone climbed into the laundry room carrying the newborn against her chest. The child's lips had turned pale. "The clinic is flooding," Simone said. "We need the pump now." "Where is it?" Simone pointed toward the largest washing machine. It was built over the nursery entrance. Amara inspected the machine. Unlike the others, its water pipes were decorative. It had never been connected to the laundry system. Julian and Amara pushed it aside. Beneath it was a circular metal hatch bearing the retired Whitmore crest. Vivian stepped backward. "That room cannot be opened." Simone placed the newborn in Amara's arms. "Hold her upright. Keep her head supported." The baby barely moved. Amara pressed the child gently against her chest and whispered, "Stay with me. We're getting you help." Simone entered a code into the hatch. "Access denied." Vivian changed it. Julian faced his wife. "Open the door." "I can't." "You can, or you would not be this afraid." Simone checked the baby again. 27 minutes. Vivian looked toward the hallway, waiting for Everett to return. Amara noticed a set of small metal switches embedded around the hatch. The pattern resembled the emergency communication panels she once serviced. Such systems were designed to open through sound frequencies if the keypad failed. "The crying," she said. Everyone looked at her. The recording at 2:17 wasn't meant to frighten anyone. It was transmitting an access pattern. Amara remembered the precise pauses in the baby's recorded cry: 2 short sounds, 1 long sound, 7 short, then 4. She pressed the switches in that sequence. The hatch opened. A narrow staircase led down into a room preserved exactly as it had been 11 years earlier. A small medical cot stood beside an outdated circulation machine. Children's drawings covered one wall, suggesting someone had lived there long after infancy. Julian approached the drawings. Each showed the mansion, the ocean, and a tall boy standing outside a locked window. Beneath one image, a child had written, "My brother Julian doesn't know I'm here." Julian touched the words. She grew up beneath this house. Simone connected the circulation pump to a portable battery. The machine activated, and the newborn's color slowly began returning. Amara allowed herself one breath of relief. Then Simone removed the child's hospital identification band and handed it to Julian. The mother's name had been erased, but another entry remained. Authorized guardian, Vivian Whitmore. Julian looked at his wife with disgust. "You planned to take this baby. I was preventing a scandal. You imprisoned her mother." "No. Her mother abandoned her." Simone stood. "Stop lying. The mother is still inside the estate." Vivian turned toward her. "That's impossible. She escaped the clinic before Everett flooded it." A violent crash sounded above them. Someone had entered the laundry room and pushed the washing machine back over the hatch. They were trapped underground. Water began spilling through vents near the ceiling. Everett's voice came through an old speaker. "Mrs. Whitmore, your husband was never supposed to return tonight. Finish what your father started, and I'll open the hatch." Vivian stared upward. "You work for me. I worked for your father first." The distinction terrified her. Simone moved the newborn and circulation pump onto a higher table. Amara searched the preserved nursery for another exit. Behind the cot, she discovered a row of height marks showing the growth of Julian's sister from infancy to age 10. The final mark was dated only 3 months earlier. Julian stared at it. "She was here recently." Simone nodded. "She came back to collect proof against First Harbor." "Where is she now?" A weak voice answered from inside the wall. "Julian." He froze. Amara followed the sound and pressed against a wooden panel. It opened into a narrow recovery chamber. A pale woman in her late 20s lay inside, restrained to a medical bed. Her face resembled Julian's mother so strongly that he stopped breathing. "Nora," he whispered. His sister opened her eyes. "You finally heard the crying." Julian rushed toward her, but Nora shook her head. "Don't disconnect me." Everett attached the nursery's flood control to my heart monitor. If my pulse changes too quickly, the chamber seals permanently. Amara examined the wires. One traveled into the wall, another connected to the circulation pump keeping the newborn alive. The systems had been linked. Saving Nora incorrectly could stop the baby's treatment. The water reached Amara's knees. Nora looked toward Vivian. "You told Everett where I was." Vivian's voice broke. "I thought he would move you. He used you just as your father did." Everett returned through the speaker. "The storm will erase this entire level in 18 minutes. Vivian, bring me Sebastian's access code, or drown with the rest of them." "I don't have it," she shouted. Nora looked at Amara. "Yes, she does. She hid it inside the maid's room before locking her outside." Amara remembered the copied diamond bracelet lying on her pillow. "The bracelet wasn't planted only to frame me." Nora nodded. "It contains the control key." Above them, something heavy scraped across the laundry room floor. Everett was removing the evidence before the chamber flooded. Then the newborn's circulation pump gave a warning tone. The battery had only 9 minutes remaining. Julian looked from his dying sister to the fragile baby. Amara looked at the rising water and understood that the key needed to save them all remained upstairs, inside the room Vivian had tried to keep her from re-entering. But before anyone could form a plan, Vivian quietly stepped into the water and pulled a hidden lever beneath the cot. A second door opened behind her. She escaped through it and sealed the passage from the other side, leaving Julian, Amara, Nora, and the newborn trapped together. The speaker crackled one final time. Everett laughed. "Let her run. She's bringing me the key." Then every light in the underground nursery went out. Darkness swallowed the underground nursery. The newborn circulation pump continued pulsing, but its battery warning sounded every 15 seconds. Amara raised her voice above the rushing water. "Simone, how long can the baby survive without that machine?" "Less than 3 minutes. The remaining battery showed 8 minutes. Nora lay motionless on the recovery bed, afraid that any sudden increase in her pulse would trigger the flood seal. Julian held her hand while Amara searched the walls. Vivian had escaped through a hidden passage. If the passage could open from one side, there had to be an emergency release inside the nursery. Amara followed the current. Water poured from 3 vents, but near the cot, it curved away from one section of wall. That meant air was escaping through a narrow gap. "There's another opening here." She felt beneath the cot and found the lever Vivian had pulled. It would not move. Julian joined her. Together, they pulled until the mechanism snapped. The wall opened several inches. A steel locking bar blocked the passage from the other side. Amara removed a metal support from the cot and pushed it through the gap. After several attempts, she lifted the bar. The passage opened. "Get the baby out first," Nora said. "We're not leaving you," Julian replied. "You can't move me until you disconnect the flood trigger." Amara studied the wires running from Nora's heart monitor. One carried her vital signs into the wall, the second connected the machine to the water system. She remembered her communications training. Emergency systems often used colored wiring, but the wires here were identical. Then she noticed that only one vibrated whenever the pump activated. That wire carries power from the baby's machine. The other sends Nora's pulse to the flood control. "If you cut the wrong one?" Simone asked. "We lose the pump, or seal the room." Julian looked at Amara. "Can you do it?" She took a pair of medical scissors from the supply tray. "I can identify the signal by touch, but Nora must keep her heartbeat steady." Nora closed her eyes. Julian spoke gently. "When we were children, I used to sit beside the west window during storms. I thought thunder meant you were knocking somewhere." Nora's pulse slowed. "You always hated storms," she whispered. "I hated being alone during them." "You weren't alone. I could see that window from the courtyard whenever they moved me between rooms." Julian fought back tears. Amara placed 2 fingers against the wires. One produced a steady mechanical vibration. The other pulsed with Nora's heart. She cut the pulsing wire. The flood alarm stopped. The water continued rising, but the chamber remained open. Julian and Simone disconnected Nora from the bed and carried her into the passage. Amara followed with the newborn and portable pump. The battery showed 6 minutes. The passage climbed toward the main floor, ending behind a storage cabinet inside the mansion's old study. When Julian pushed it open, they found Elena waiting. "I saw Vivian leave the laundry room," she said. Everett followed her toward Amara's quarters. "The control key is inside the false bracelet," Amara explained. Elena looked at the baby. "The bridge is gone. No ambulance can reach us. Is there another medical battery?" Simone asked. "The estate chapel has an emergency generator." They hurried toward it. The storm had shattered several windows. Wind and rain swept through the mansion while frightened employees gathered in the foyer. Julian ordered them to move to the chapel and call the Coast Guard using the radio there. A terrified young housekeeper stopped when she saw the newborn. "That's Camille's baby." Simone faced her. "You know the mother?" Camille worked in the greenhouse. "Mrs. Whitmore said she quit last week." "She didn't quit," Amara said. "Where did you last see her?" The housekeeper pointed toward the garden conservatory. Everett took her there after she threatened to call the police. Julian told Elena to take Nora, Simone, and the baby to the chapel. Then he and Amara ran toward the staff corridor. Amara's bedroom door stood open. The false bracelet had disappeared. Wet footprints led toward the conservatory. When they reached it, they saw Vivian standing beneath the glass roof while Everett held the bracelet near a portable control case. The storm raged above them. "You said the key would release my father's records," Vivian shouted. "It will," Everett replied. "Along with every payment proving you continued his operation. You were paid to remove those records. I was paid to preserve them until the right buyer appeared." Vivian finally understood that Everett had never intended to protect her. He planned to sell the files to the powerful families named inside them, then destroy the mansion with everyone who could testify. Amara quietly activated the conservatory's public address microphone from a wall panel. Their conversation began transmitting into every room. Julian stepped forward. "Put down the control case." Everett turned. "You should have stayed in London. You changed my flight schedule, didn't you?" "I tried. Your pilot refused the revised departure time." Vivian looked at her husband. "I didn't know Everett planned to kill anyone. You locked Amara outside during a deadly storm. You helped imprison Nora. You intended to steal Camille's child. My father taught me that the family name had to survive." "What family?" Julian asked. "You protected his crimes, not his name." Everett inserted the bracelet's hidden key into the control case. A map appeared, showing 3 underground clinics connected across the estate. One contained the First Harbor archives. Another held Nora's medical chamber. The third was beneath the conservatory. A woman was trapped inside it. "Camille." Everett pressed a command. The floor began retracting over a deep chamber filling with water. Camille stood on a narrow platform below, banging against a locked gate. Amara ran toward the opening. "Camille, stay where you are." Everett closed the control case. "The key can stop the flooding, but I'm taking it with me." He moved toward the garden exit, but Vivian blocked his path. "You cannot leave me here. You were always meant to take the blame." He shoved her aside. Vivian caught the edge of a stone planter and fell. The control case slipped from Everett's hands and slid across the wet floor. Amara reached it first. Everett seized her wrist. "Give it to me. You tried to drown a mother and her baby. She was evidence. She is a person." Amara drove her shoulder against him and broke free. Julian restrained Everett while she opened the case. The interface displayed 3 commands. Drain. Archive transfer. Total seal. Amara selected drain. Water began falling inside Camille's chamber. But the choice triggered a 90-second security delay before the gate could open. Everett laughed. "You saved the room, not the woman. She's standing on a pressure plate. If she steps away, the archive burns." Camille looked down in terror. Amara examined the control diagram. The pressure plate was not connected to fire. It was connected to a data transfer system. Everett had lied again. If Camille moves, the files upload somewhere, Amara said. To every family named in them, Everett replied. They'll know who exposed them. They already know First Harbor is collapsing. But they don't know the Maid caused it. Amara looked at Julian. Powerful people could target her, Leon and every surviving mother if her identity accompanied the transfer. Julian understood. Use my authorization instead. It requires the person standing on the plate, Amara said. Camille shouted from below. My life has already been stolen. I won't let them take my daughter too. She stepped off the plate. The conservatory screens activated. Thousands of medical records began uploading, not to the implicated families, but to a secure server belonging to an international investigative court. Everett's expression changed. That isn't the destination I programmed. Nora's voice came through the public address system. I changed it 3 months ago. From the chapel, Nora had accessed the network using the medical monitor. She had returned to the mansion precisely to redirect her father's evidence before Vivian or Everett could destroy it. The conservatory gate unlocked. Julian descended the metal stairs and helped Camille out. She tried to run immediately. My baby. She's alive, Amara assured her. Simone is treating her in the chapel. Camille collapsed with relief. Everett attempted to escape again, but employees had gathered outside the conservatory after hearing his confession through the mansion speakers. They blocked every exit. Julian called the Coast Guard through the emergency radio and reported Everett's location. Vivian rose slowly from the floor. You broadcast everything. Amara looked at her. You locked me outside because you thought no one would hear me. Now the entire household has heard you. Vivian's eyes filled with hatred. She grabbed the control case and pressed total seal. Steel shutters dropped across the conservatory doors. The upload stopped at 87%. A new warning appeared. Archive destruction in 10 minutes. Then Vivian removed the bracelet key and broke it beneath her shoe. The remaining records will disappear, she said. And without them, you cannot prove what happened to every mother. Julian approached her. 87% is enough to destroy you. But not enough to find all the children. Camille stared at the incomplete list. Her own son, taken by First Harbor 4 years earlier, was among the missing 13%. Amara searched the broken bracelet pieces. The physical key was ruined, but its internal transmitter continued emitting a faint pulse. The same pulse she had heard hidden inside the repeating baby cry. The recording wasn't only an access pattern, Amara realized. It was a backup. Nora answered through the speaker. Yes. But the complete recording exists in only one place. Where? In the room where Vivian kept playing it. Amara's bedroom. The room now filling with water from the burst heating system. The archive countdown fell below 9 minutes. Julian told the employees to find tools and open the conservatory shutters manually. Amara ran toward a maintenance duct leading back into the mansion. Vivian suddenly smiled. You won't find the recording. Amara stopped. Why? Because the speaker in your room was never connected to a storage device. Then what was transmitting the sound every night? Vivian looked toward Camille. A living child. Camille's face went white. My son. Vivian said nothing. A new voice came through the mansion's audio system. It belonged to a frightened 4-year-old boy. Mommy, the bad man is coming back. Camille screamed his name. The sound was coming from inside Amara's flooded bedroom. Then Everett, still restrained by Julian, began laughing. You have 8 minutes to choose, he said. Save the archive, or save the boy hidden behind the wall. Amara refused to choose. The recording opens both systems, she said. If we find the boy, his voice can complete the archive transfer. Julian forced open the conservatory's emergency shutter while the employees restrained Everett and Vivian. Amara and Camille raced through the flooded corridor to her bedroom. Behind the damaged speaker, they found a narrow chamber. Camille's 4-year-old son, Micah, was inside. Mommy. Camille pulled him into her arms, but Amara took the speaker's transmitter before leaving. She connected it to the control case and played Micah's recorded crying pattern. The archive upload resumed. 100% complete. The destruction countdown stopped with 11 seconds remaining. At the chapel, the generator kept the newborn's circulation pump running until Coast Guard doctors arrived. Simone stabilized the child, and Camille was finally reunited with both of her children. Authorities arrested Everett for kidnapping, attempted murder, unlawful imprisonment and conspiracy. His confession, combined with the complete archive, exposed Sebastian's network and every First Harbor official who continued it. Vivian insisted she had only protected her father's legacy, but the staff had heard her admissions through the mansion's audio system. She was charged with kidnapping, child trafficking, evidence destruction and endangering Amara's life. Julian ended their marriage. Nora received treatment and slowly rebuilt her relationship with the brother who had mourned her for 11 years. Together, they created an independent search program that reunited dozens of mothers with children whose identities had been changed. Amara's false theft accusation was publicly withdrawn. Julian offered her a senior position managing the estate's emergency systems, but she chose something greater, directing a protection center for domestic workers and vulnerable mothers. Months later, Camille visited that center with Micah and her healthy baby daughter. Julian returned Amara's old keycard, now engraved with one word: Director. Amara smiled but placed it inside her desk. Vivian had locked her outside because she believed a maid's voice could disappear beneath the storm. Instead, Amara heard the cry everyone else had ignored, opened the room everyone feared and rescued an entire generation of stolen children. That night, the storm did not hide the truth. It finally made the truth loud enough for the world to hear.